Welcome to Pckmts, a podcast about Magic the Gathering Limited, where we take a deep dive into the current limited formats. I'm Robi, the resident Durdle expert.
I'm Andrew, the resident MH3 loving son of a gun.
Amen, brother. Love them the $35 draft formats.
Yeah. Guns up for your $35 drafts, people.
And we're the Pckmts.
We are the Pckmts. Join us up on Discord. We're always pretty active there. There's always somebody
active.
drafting. We like taking apart and looking at decks and things like that. So we're always happy to help you with cuts and
we'll help you draft. We'll complain about Nadu with you.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, lively chat about Nadu this week.
We're down for sure.
Yeah.
Join our Discord. It's super fun. So what do we got this week, Andrew?
Yeah, so we're talking about some MH3. We've been living with it for the past 4 weeks now, I believe, since pre-release. And
feels forever.
Yeah, it feels like it's gone a long time.
Feels like unlike any other Modern Horizons format.
Yeah, and then so we're going to talk about that, and then we'll have a little etiquette school with Robi, and then we'll talk about a couple of the decks that we just kind of see that are really the juggernauts of the format, but maybe we'll do this in a different order, but those are the big topics.
Yeah, no promises.
Yeah. So we've been with MH3 for 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks pre-release, and then 3 weeks we've been drafting it. Actually longer, I think, now that I think about it.
I think maybe 5 almost.
Yeah, goodness,
yeah,
it feels so long.
It really does. Especially for Modern Horizons format. This is the most I've ever drafted a Modern Horizons format for sure.
It's been interesting, It was nice the first couple times, and then you start realizing, boy, these drafts are getting pretty expensive.
Yes, $35 draft format.
And I think that's a little bit cheaper. Like, I will say our LGS is doing a little bit cheaper probably than some of your LGSs out there,
I know I've paid $40 for master drafts before. Yeah,
so shout outs to our LGS for keeping it nice with the drafters, but it is fatiguing nonetheless, going what are we at? We're at like 20, 25?
20, I think we're at 20. I think it's 20, for regular draft format.
And so that's a pretty big jump when we're going from almost a 50% increase, plus on our draft there.
Yeah, like we definitely don't see the same normal drafters as much. Like it seems like it's more like MH3 rare chasing kind of people come into these drafts.
I think it's kind of nice. There's some people who normally would do, modern and have kind of come into our pods.
Because they need like cameos.
They're out there for a gold rush.
Ruby medallions.
Yeah. Like, everybody's trying to strike gold in this one. And it's just the value is kind of there if people are hunting value. And there's a lot of $5 plus cards that are just randomly in there. And there's some uncommons that are I've
definitely made it out every week. Mostly in my drafts, even like just eking out value, like having a rare draft, like especially this is a format where you really, really have to basically rare draft.
Yeah.
Like you can't be passing fetch lands, even though yesterday, I literally passed a fetch land and felt so bad about it to take an Ocelot Pride, which I did not even remotely at the time realize was way more expensive than a fetch land.
Yeah. And it's also just a better draft card too.
Yes, I was already in white and I was like,
it's pretty savage in the draft. But yeah, it's something that I see like we have drafters. It's really weird. It's kind of a boom bust every week. And maybe there's things going on in people's lives and they're just not able to like go every week to draft.
It's a holiday weekend.
It's a holiday weekend. But I've noticed that people are coming in. It's like, ooh, $35. All right. And then it's like next week they're not there. And then the next week they come in. And it's like, that is a little bit of wallet fatigue,
For sure.
I
think that one of the big problems too is like, I think play packs really raised the price too. Even because I know Modern Horizons 2 was quite a bit cheaper than this one.
Oh, was it?
I'm pretty sure because like, from my understanding, it was like $6 or $7 a pack. And this is almost closer to 10. Yeah. So like, I've definitely done Modern Horizons 2 drafts for like well under 30, but it's crazy for sure.
I'm just waiting until we fully fatigue out and start doing collector draft boosters.
Yeah. So how do we feel about the format as a whole? I hate it.
You hate it?
I'm just gonna come out strong. I love it to a certain extent because there's definitely extremely powerful, ridiculous things that you can do, like any Modern Horizons set. I think I'm almost a little fatigued from how much everyone has had, which is objectively a good thing. Everyone's been able to play this format way more, whether it be on Arena, Magic Online. Like, there's just a lot more access to actually play this format than we've seen in other Modern Horizon sets, where like you had to play them on like MTGA, and that was basically it, or MTGO.
Yeah.
Magic Online.
Magic Online?
Magic Online,
yeah.
Or drafted in person. So, like, it's interesting. Like, we've never had a quick draft Modern Horizons format ever.
That's pretty nuts. You know? There's no value in, like, it's just no different than any other drafts that, you know, in MGA, everything's equal, right? Because of all the wild cards.
It is very interesting. Yeah. Like, you could grind it like you could any other random set. Yeah.
In that respect, sometimes I feel like when you go into Premier drafts, or in Premier draft especially when you're at the top levels there, like, man, that metagame gets a little spicy because people are just passing like crazy rares. You're just like, oh yeah, of course, you would never see like a Ulamog getting past you or something like that in a regular paper draft.
For sure.
And so it's kind of fun because your deck quality gets so much better when you're in those Premier drafts. The higher up you go, the lower you go, there's still people like other things, but
taking stuff.
Like, for instance, in our paper drafts this week, we're getting past like writhing chrysalises everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Which will never, ever happen in Premier draft.
Exactly.
It should never happen in Premier draft.
Yeah. And so it kind of skews our paper data sometimes. And so you get a lot of these 3-color piles because someone got a chrysalis like 4th pick or something,
which,
or 3rd pick.
In real life, like taking a chrysalis or a polluted delta is like a very easy decision. One's an $18 card and one is 50 cents. Right?
Exactly.
Like you kind of have to do it to offset the cost.
I think you're always seeing your $35 entry fee just looming over you.
Yeah, for sure.
Just like
for sure.
And so we're seeing some interesting things, but there's been some big front runners, and as you know, the Writhing Chrysalis from the very beginning of the set has been that one card that's been the marquee common with major win rate over like most rares in the set.
Probably the scariest draft common I've ever seen, because it just does infinity things. It's like one of the most flexible, ridiculous things. Like a 4-mana 4/5 reacher. For 4 is okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's pretty good. Decent. But like having 2 chump blockers in the late game, also getting you to 7 on turn 5 is crazy. Yeah. Like, especially in this format where just like you can have infinity 7 drops. It's so silly. Yeah.
I think the craziest line to me is always just Writhing Chrysalis into Writhing Chrysalis, and you just, man, like they get so damn big after that, and they're just so hard to deal with. Now you're dealing with like, was it 6 8s or something, or 6 7s? Yeah. After that, it's just like, my gosh, and you're barely probably on turn 3 or turn 4 on that portion. So it gets a little wild, but you know, we've seen something kind of slay the beast a little bit, which is the Boros deck, and it gets out from underneath it. It's a really fast aggro deck, and I think it punishes those kind of go bigger strategies.
It's definitely one of the harder decks for me personally to pilot. Like, I've had a hard time trying to play Boros in this format.
Are you an aggro expert?
No, I'm a terrible aggro player. I hate attacking people. Like, it just feels dirty to me. I don't want to do it. If I can win a game without attacking someone, I will absolutely do that.
I'm going to sully my hands.
Yeah, for sure. I don't do the dirty work like that, right? Like,
oh man,
it's definitely a tricky format, like having to navigate. I've felt too that MH3 has had the hardest effect I've felt from play boosters in this format.
Really?
Yes, because of like the way that the colors are portioned out feels really weird in this format to me. Anyways.
Well, we've got a Phantom 6 color in there that's messing
that
things
is true.
Up for
that
you.
is true. Yeah, for sure. But like, yeah, it feels different for sure. with the play packs.
I think the synergies too, like the way the set's built. Like normally in these sets, sometimes you just do 5-color piles, and it's just good enough to get there. But I think those 5-color piles really suffer from these 2-color. Like I'm very narrow in my lane. Yeah,
ultra synergistic.
Exactly.
Decks,
and it just takes out those like I'm gonna get a bitch value on my stuff, and it's just the lands aren't really helpful because you got the sack lands. It's nice to have. But also, it's like you're taking off a turn every time to get those sons of guns online.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You don't always feel like that, though, because, like, especially, like, the boogeyman of the format, like the red-green, the Gruul Eldrazi deck, like, it wants colorless lands to play, like, Flesh Rakers and stuff like that. Like, and to, like, have it to, like, make their siege gank commanders. Like, so, like, it's less punishing in those decks, which like already don't need a boost. Like, so like they utilize them the best. And like I've played even off-color ones in those decks for sure. Yeah, it's like the 5-color piles are already the decks that can play like the whatever they want are already so ridiculously strong, right?
Yeah.
Like red, green, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, you got like the red-green card that, like, I think it's an enchantment that makes 2 spawns and you can tap them for any color.
Path of Annihilation.
Yeah, Path of Annihilation. So you already like those red-green decks already have access to whatever the hell they want to play.
Yeah, like it's ridiculous. But yeah, that's another kind of like a mythic uncommon in this.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Path of Annihilation, because like you'll just be beating. Then that's like the trump card in those decks against red-white is the Path of Annihilation, just being able to gain a bunch of life off their random 7-drops that they have infinity of, because there is basically a 7-drop slot in every pack in this format. Like,
yeah, and then it's funny because again on paper or in paper, I can see that card going around like 6th pick, sometimes even later, which is wild to me.
Only one deck really realistically wants it. But it like makes or breaks that deck. And like, I don't think people know yet. People are starting to catch on a little, I'm sure on Arena, but in Paper Magic, like it is not too late. If you see a Chrysalis in pack 2, go in.
Yeah.
Like genuinely, you should just always take it as like a sign.
Yeah.
At worst, splash it in everything. like it's good enough to like, if you're in, I would even say, if you're in 0 of those colors, go into it. Like, genuinely. If you don't have a red or a green card, just go into it. Because, like, if somebody's passing you Chrysalis, you're gonna be all right, for sure. What's your favorite color combination in this format so far?
Oh, my favorite color combination is Rakdos, actually.
Rakdos? Huh. I've heard you talk about it. I have had very horrible luck with it. I'm not sure I know exactly how it's supposed to be played.
Yeah, it's just get those cranial rams.
Cranial ram is like a free magic card.
Exactly. Yeah, nobody really nobody respects it enough in this format. They don't see it, but it feels itself. Like the more you have, the better it gets, right?
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
And so there's a lot of guys like the 1/1. It's like a retrofitter or something like that. So it comes back from your graveyard modified.
Yes, I have been impressed with him. I do like him.
There's been a long line of creatures like this, and this is probably the best one in a long time.
Yeah, because he comes back pretty big, and like there's times where you just want him to die just so he can come back bigger and be a relevant threat on the board.
There's some synergy pieces with him, and there's a 2/3 golem that when a creature comes into play, it pings. It's also an artifact.
Very good.
So there's some small artifact synergies that you kind of get through there. Granted, we don't have the artifact land, so it's not as on the face busted. Easy to do those things. I think actually like people get sucked in when they think it's like hardcore artifact deck, but really it's just like an aggro deck, like a basic aggro deck that has a sub theme of artifacts in it. But don't play the Mirror Enforcer.
Really?
Yeah. Because realistically, you'd want to have the guys who make the energy, the 2/3 or the 2/1 first striker. That when it comes into play, that guy's just good. The Raptor.
Oh, the Raptor.
The Raptor's
crazy.
The Raptor's really good in that deck too because you're able to get all your 1-drops, and so you try to get like this big board aggro kind of deal, and just the the Mirror Enforcer just doesn't do enough, and he doesn't come down early enough either. Like realistically, you're playing him on 4, and now he's already a 4/4/4/4.
Yeah, huh.
Yeah.
That's curious because I wasn't sure about that card. Like I've always considered it. I've played it in hard up Gruul ramp decks.
Mm-hmm. Oh, gosh.
Which is like when you're really struggling.
That's pretty hard up.
When you're really struggling.
Yeah,
right?
the times are hard when you're playing that dude.
When you just need to draw 3 cards with your Kozilek's Unsealing, right?
Mm-hmm. So I've been doing that, and then I've been picking up some of those fun kind of modified removal spells. There's a one that's actually pretty good. It's a 1 cost, 1 black, and you sacrifice a creature. It's like Bone Shards.
Very good, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a very good card.
Lethal something.
Yeah,
it's called lethal something.
Have it up there. But that one's pretty good because, one, your Crano Rams are modified, so you get to draw a card off the Germ.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. So there's some like hidden synergies there. It's like one of the best cards in that deck, actually, because you also have the Retrofitter guy, the 1/1 guy. And so when he comes back modified, you're just like, okay, cool. Sack him again and just 4 mana, just drew a card. And destroyed a creature and got your other dude back.
I've been very impressed with the Retrofitter. I play him a lot in black-blue.
Yeah.
Because he's like just a good target to sack to the draw 2.
Yeah.
The 2 mana spell with flashback for 5, where if you sacrifice a creature, then you draw 2 cards, which triggers your fairies, your sneaky snackers.
Yep.
So I've always played him in that, but I've had very limited luck with him in Rakdos. Just because I don't know. It's
a weirder one. It's definitely on the fringe, but it's probably my highest win rate actually when I draft it online. Or when I'm drafting it in person.
I always see the pieces. I always see the pieces. I've just like the couple times I've tried it, I've just haven't got there.
There's been somebody in our draft who's just hard forcing it all the time. And so it's been a little bit tougher to get because I've been, kind of nibbling on the pieces. So this week I did some like I think it was Grixis kind of BS. And it was a little bit, it kind of shows the weakness of the format sometimes when you're trying to do like 2 synergistic strategies that are like, you're like, oh, I'm going to be the draw 3 deck, but I'm also going to be the artifact affinity deck. And it's like, oh, no, this doesn't work that well.
It really, like, this is a pretty fun, punishing format for that. Like trying to sneak in double synergies.
Double synergies, yeah. Splashing synergies doesn't work, like, especially with the energy synergies. Because you're like, some of them are pretty good. And some of them just like really just hurt.
Some of them are very bad.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, damn, I just spent all my energy. That's the only energy I have left in my deck. I had like 2 energy cards. I wasted it all.
Or like when you're really struggling to try and spend 4 energy to draw a card off your, is it whatever it's called, the 2 mana artifact. And you're just like, dang it. Why did I do this?
I've had some high synergy. I mean, that's fun, but I mean, like when you splash that, like that's a card you just really can't splash. Like you have to be in like a very specific, So yeah, that's been kind of fun for me. How about you?
My absolute favorite, and it's pure nonsense, is the Simic ramp decks are so fun. It's so fun to just do degenerate Kozilek's Unsealing, which is like one of my favorite cards we've had in a while. It's objectively bad. It's got a terrible win rate.
Yeah.
But like it just is so fun to just like ping people to death with like Fleshraker. Yeah. Which is like probably my favorite uncommon of the entire set.
You've been really happy with that.
I love Fleshraker. I love cards that enable me to do crazy things without ever having to attack, right?
Yeah.
And like these Simic ramp decks don't attack usually.
Well, if they're doing it, they're attacking with like a 7/7. They really don't attack.
They're only attacking with 7/7.
Yeah, I mean, you're like basically ramping up everything like on those other turns.
But like you don't even need to whenever you have like Fleshrakers and stuff. So yeah, that deck's been very fun. That just utilizes like Fleshrakers and what is it? The random other uncommons. Incubator Drone's very good in there. Also, what is it called? The 2 mana colorless guy that makes your 7 drops cost 1 less.
Oh,
that guy's very good. He just gets you. He's like ramp kind of, and like you just want like a plethora of 7 drops because you just want to basically draw everything and just overwhelm your opponent.
Do you need to play the 1/3 guy that makes 2 colorless mana?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's very,
Is he,
very,
like,
very,
a key
very.
important-
He's a
yeah.
very important part of that
Yeah.
because like it's a very grindy deck where like you just want to stabilize, gum up the board to the point where your opponent can never attack, and eventually you'll just find a way to attack.
Does it matter what 7 drops you have?
No.
Okay. So
Not, I will say like some are definitely better than others, but like you can definitely get by if you have the Kozilek's Unsealing. It kind of just equalizes your 7 drops. Like you don't really care if like you just have Drown Lurker, which is like the lowest value one. It's still usually just fine and fits into that slot.
So when you're drafting this kind of for that archetype, what are you prioritizing first?
Chrysalis, obviously. Even if you see Chrysalis, you automatically take it.
I thought you were a Civic deck, sir. I thought you were a Civic deck.
Even in any deck, you still should be prioritizing
aside from Chrysalis, because you never pass them.
After that, you want Kozilek's Unsealing, Path of Annihilation, and you want Flesh Rakers.
Okay.
And then basically all the other pieces kind of just fall in. Those are the hardest to get pieces.
So do you prioritize the ramp first, or do you prioritize the big dudes?
I usually,
aside from the top things that you've done, actually.
I usually take the ramp.
Okay.
Because you can usually get there on the big guys.
That's what I thought, too.
Like, you can usually get a mass of 7 drops. You usually want at least 5, probably.
I don't think you're getting like the premium ones, but I think you're always getting the ones that cycle.
You're getting Warp Tuskers.
And the dudes that cycle.
Yeah, which are fine. I will also say another really, really, really strong piece in that deck is the Breaker of Annihilation, or the 8-mana guy, double colorless guy.
Yeah, keeps you back in the game.
Yeah, automatically puts you back in the game.
Yeah.
And like you have infinity lands.
It's a little difficult to remove sometimes too.
Very much so, because like they either have to kill it through combat. They basically only can kill it through
the red removal does a good job killing it. I will say that, because a lot of it's devoid.
That and Ghost Fire Slice.
Ghost Fire Slice is a 4-cost one that's devoid as well.
And Fanged whatever. That one deals 4. Yep. Yeah. Those are the best ways to deal with it, but it's still a pain to deal with for sure.
Yeah.
Like definitely disgusting.
Yeah, it's bad when your black removal can't kill that guy. It's really
also
tough.
Annihilator too, which is pretty backbreaking. Like you always just want to be swinging in with them and just making them suck stuff.
Yeah, you're not holding an 8/4 back to block.
Great blocker.
Yeah. My gosh.
Yeah, that deck's been really fun. I also love black blue too. It's pretty bad. It's like pretty hard to get going. Yeah. But Sneaky Snacker is just real fun. That's another extremely, extremely grindy deck that you never win.
That's a tough deck to build. I'm not sure how to properly build it. I'm hoping maybe we have 1 or 2 more times that we can draft this. Hope maybe my pocketbook doesn't say we should draft it all the time. But
I've seen Joel get 7 wins with it, and he's posted it into the Discord. And I think the keys are like the Shadow Spinner is like the main piece that you need to bring back your Sneaky Snackers.
I think just you need a critical mass of Sneaky Snackers. I think you need like 4+, and then it really gets going. Play patterns with that deck. I've been really seeing, like, if I didn't get my early Sneaky Snacker, it was miserable.
Oh yeah, your deck doesn't do anything
because he doesn't really he's not the best like top deck in like
he's not good.
Yeah, like turn 9 or turn 10. It's like, gosh damn, I don't need a 2/1 flyer. He's got a lot of synergy. It's really nice with the card that you'd mentioned earlier, the one that sacrifices to draw 2. So you sacrifice Snacker, bring Snacker back. Very nice little combo.
Yeah. If you do it on your turn. If you do it on your turn.
Don't do it. Don't do it on your opponent's turn.
I've done that.
Ooh, awful.
Lost the game.
Yeah, that could do that. That could do that. Yeah.
It's like, why didn't my Sneaky Snacker come back?
Yeah. So, it'll be interesting. I hope to try it maybe one more time or so.
Yeah, I love that deck. There's definitely cool stuff in this format. It's just like all of it's kind of overshadowed by
the 2 big pillars there.
The big pillars for sure.
I think so.
Definitely. Like our drafts have kind of just like came down to like who has the most chrysalises. Who was next to the person who didn't know that chrysalis was good.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens quite a bit, especially on paper. It happens quite a bit. This week was a little weird. There was a lot of 3-color decks just because I think people were rare drafting quite a bit. I think there was a lot of like double rare packs as a play pack thing.
Yeah.
Where you get like 3 rares of like good value and you're like, damn, I can't take all the rares in this pack. So it's like 3 people taking the rares for the next 2 picks. And then it's just like, okay, then here's all the rest of the cards. And then you start drafting like to make your deck good.
Yeah.
And so it screwed up a lot of people and a lot of signaling.
I got lucky that all my expensive cards were cards that I could play.
Very good.
Yeah,
very
which
good.
is nice. That's all. Yeah. That always feels good, especially in the $35 draft format for sure. So what do we have next?
Oh yeah, I was like, Robi, you kind of seem like a gentleman's drafter there.
Yeah.
You know?
So I have a discussion point, and I'd love to get your take on this as someone who definitely has. I've seen you do this in the past. Yeah. You've definitely changed your tune a little bit. Yeah. But how do you feel?
Etiquette School, Robi.
How do you feel about you just get done with the draft?
Sure.
Do you flip your cards over, talk to everyone around you, just put your cards out so everyone can see them? Or do you hide in a corner and build your deck and not give any information? And this is something I've always kind of felt kind of strongly about. I think it's probably better for the health of the game, for the health of like the pod in general, to just flip your cards. If people see them, people see them. If somebody comments on them, whatever. Like I think a lot of people just coming into draft don't know this, but like basically everyone there is there for the same reason, to have fun drafting, basically.
Yeah.
Like we all try to help each other as much as possible. And like, I can't tell you how many times I've just had my cards out and somebody's like walked up and been like, well, what are you doing, Robi? Why is this in your deck? And they were right. Mm-hmm. And I ended up winning games because they helped me with that. Mm-hmm. So I think it's probably better to just show your cards whenever you're done. Just flip them over exactly where you're at. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably like the best, most optimal strategy. What do you think, Andrew?
Well, I used to be a kind of just go on your own and, sleeve your deck up by yourself. There's nothing
wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with that, for sure. But
sometimes, you just don't want input, or you feel like you just know the format better than anybody else and you don't need the input. Sure. And then sometimes you're just like, I've kind of softened up a little bit over time. And just because it's kind of fun, people get to see what I draft and they're like, ooh, okay, yeah, he's like a decent-ish drafter, and so they kind of say, oh, wow, why'd you pick that? And it's like, okay, yeah, of course, and you're explaining like why that card's good or something like that. And then sometimes you see this like really bad card, like you were saying, where somebody says like, what the hell is that doing in your deck? Like it's got the worst, there's some people out there who really love the 17 lands data and are just like encyclopedias of 17 lands data. And so they're just like, bleep, bleep, bloop, bloop, bloop. That has a 30% win rate. Yeah,
I'm one of those people. I'm exactly that person.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's like, that's got a 30% win rate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what are you doing? Exactly. And so, so that's kind of fun. But, then you have people who kind of like secretly kind of hide their deck. They build it really fast. And, and it's casual at F&M. So, we're kind of building along the way here. We're picking up our cards we're looking at, and we're not like doing like everybody's face down pass. Yeah. We're actually like, I'm building my deck as I go along. So,
usually me too.
Yeah. So this week was kind of weird because I was like 3-color everything, but normally I'm like got my mana curve ready to go. I'm like basically in sleeves by the time we're done with the big
I take forever
process.
But I'm usually the last one to be sleeved.
Well, you're also like very helpful to the community as well. Like you go around, people ask you things. So you're always like, the reason like it takes you forever is because you're actually just helping everybody else. Yeah. So it's like the very good reason why you're always like the last person to sleeve up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gentlemen. I think it's just like definitely healthier for the game. And like I would be lying if I said I didn't kind of like to troll a little bit with just having my deck out and it look insane and just like have bad cards in there and just kind of trolling. Like it's kind of fun to do.
So if everybody's exposing everything that they've had there on the table, everybody's building face up. If I'm the one going away and then I'm coming back and looking at everybody else's. How's that, as the etiquette wizard here would
I
say?
I think it's objectively bad. It's like a weird gray area where they aren't technically doing anything wrong. They're definitely getting an advantage by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when I know that someone's doing that, I kind of put a target on their head a little bit. Like when I'm playing them, I play a lot more aggressive.
And you got an extra bead of sweat for them.
I definitely want to like beat those people for sure. Because like if you get someone like that who's a person who's just like winning every week, that's horrible for the health of your community. Like genuinely, like if our best player isn't helping anyone, is just basically sharking, getting information from other people who may be less skilled players, like they aren't gaining any information. They aren't really benefiting from you being in the community. You're basically just taking a prize spot from someone who's friendly, basically. So like I usually try to play hard against those people, but like there's nothing technically wrong with it. It's like very gray area, kind of shady, but and like let's say you're just like nervous about your first draft and you just get like anxiety from people like looking at your cards, kind of, which is very, very valid too. Like there's nothing wrong with not doing it, but like for the most part, I'll say like most people are friendly and will steer you in the right direction.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going out of their way to make you have a 30% win percentage card in your deck.
Yeah, for sure. Like I definitely am not. I'm usually, and like you can kind of like, you'll know the people that everyone asks for help. Those are usually solid people too.
Yeah.
Like if everyone else trusts them, they're probably good too.
Yeah. You got any other fun etiquette things for your charm school?
For my etiquette school?
Yeah, for your etiquette school.
How do you feel about... here's another one that kind of drives me crazy and triggers me a little bit, is whenever people try to hide their double face cards in the draft portion.
Yeah.
And like you'll see them like take a double face card and real quickly put it to the bottom.
Yeah. I think that's kind of a symptom of how we do our drafts so casually.
Yes.
Where people are like building along as they go, but they're not revealing, and it should be revealed to everybody, like, hey, these are the double face cards that we have in our pack.
It's a very niche thing too.
Yeah.
Like we don't always have double face cards in packs, but like if you don't know, it is absolutely public information. If you take a double face card, like you should probably just set it aside. Even I've set it aside, or sometimes I'll just like put my other cards underneath it every time.
I think something we should try is kind of what they do at the Pro Tour level, is where when people have double face cards, it's revealed before we even start drafting the pack. So they open their pack and they reveal like, hey, I got a double face card. Everybody look at the double face card that I got. And then if they want to hide it or whatever, but it was information for everybody at one point in time. So we all had an equal chance to like see that there were double face cards out there.
Yeah. And that it's super nitpicky too, because it's just like at the F&M level. So it's like a person not revealing their double face card isn't going to lose me games most of the time. But,
well, it's loss of information.
Yeah,
though.
for sure.
It's in the same vein as like building.
It's
building in a corner by yourself and not revealing any information when really that's public information for everybody and they should know. And so maybe we could try that at another time, just kind of saying, hey, look, I opened up this double face card. Okay, what did you open? Oh, I opened up these double face cards. And then if you want to hide them, you can hide them. Doesn't matter. Everybody gets legit information there.
Yeah. I'll say all these are just like, that one is like more of like you actually like technically you're breaking a rule if you don't reveal it. But the first one wasn't. It's just like, you should just do this if you want a stronger, better draft community, which you should want. You should want that. One last one. We'll do one last one. And then I just lost it in my brain. It just ran away. Stacking the packs and putting the card that you think is the best on the bottom or like on the top, or like to signal to your opponent what the best card is.
Oh,
How do you feel about that?
It's so subjective. I just shuffle the pack even when they pass
I
it
do
to
too.
me.
I do too.
Yeah.
I usually do too.
I don't trust my opponents to tell me how to build my deck.
Do you ever do it for anyone else? I've done it before.
I've done it subconsciously for newer drafters.
That's where I think it's like the most important. It's just like, don't miss this chrysalis. I had to take a polluted delta, but
yeah. Or I guess I do it consciously because I know they're a new player, so it's not even unconsciously. But like I do it consciously for new players, especially when it's just like someone who's like, this is my second draft. And I try to be really friendly to that. And I think, luckily our community is pretty good about that. Like you're very good about it.
Yeah, that's like the most.
I'm like I try to be really good about it.
I've definitely seen a lot of growth.
Yeah.
A lot of growth.
Yeah. So it's like, I try to do that. So we always have a friendlier pod when it's like you and I, and then sometimes like there's another player who's in our group there. His sister was coming along, and so he was helping her out too.
Yeah, and like people were super flexible and letting him be right next to her.
Yeah, to help.
And that is like having a new player is objectively good for the community.
Mm-hmm.
It puts more like even if you're the sharkiest, most try-hard player ever, you're still getting an extra pack and prize support by a new player being in the pod. Mm-hmm. Like that's just good for everyone, basically.
I think our community has been growing too, which is really nice. But anyways, to go back to what you were saying, I do kind of sometimes I do that just for newer players, and it's my brain saying that these are like the best cards. So, and they may not be the best cards,
Yeah.
I don't know what they're in. I'm trying to push them into I'm trying to hard signal them, like, don't be in these colors because I'm taking these colors, and they're going to have a better draft experience because they're not getting like the dregs of what I'm passing them, especially if I'm passing to them twice.
Yeah.
If they're to my left.
Yep.
And so that'd be hard signaling, and that's signaling is kind of more advanced kind of thing as well.
It's hard to know signaling for sure.
Yeah. So,
but those are my draft etiquettes for this week. But if you guys have any other draft etiquettes, put them in the comments because I'm big on the etiquette. You want a strong, healthy community, and like being cool to people is probably like the best way to grow it.
Yeah,
for sure.
If you're in our Discord, give your etiquette tips to Robi.
Give me some more.
Yeah,
as the etiquette master of the draft format, of MH3 draft format for sure.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, and check us out on Discord, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Bye.